Hey, Kempner Cougars. I'm back with this week's Selfie Lecture. This week, we're going to be talking about something very important. And I've been gone. I must apologize. I've been gone because we had to go play a few games for the baseball playoffs. And as you know, unfortunately, we lost this weekend. But it's okay. It's okay. We're going to bounce back. But I want to come back and give you a selfie lecture over how culture, ethnicity, and race affect how we interact with one another within our school. So at Kempton, we have a unique opportunity to be in a very diverse community at our school. So we have students of a lot of different cultures, a lot of different ethnicities, races, religions, right? And we have to deal with them every day. So let's take teachers, for example. I'm a black teacher. I use me for an example so that no other teachers get offended when they see this lecture. But I'm a black teacher, so I may identify with other black students. I may identify with certain cultures, all right, a certain way of thought. Right? But as a teacher, I have to make sure that I'm actually trying to teach every student, every culture, every ethnicity, because they all need to learn the material I'm teaching. So I can't let my comfort zone stop me and hinder my ability to teach other students. So that goes for different students of different cultures. When you enter the school, you have different social interactions with students of other religions, for example, of other cultures, of other ethnicities. And so because of that, you have to transcend everything and try to make friends with those who think totally different from you. And that's very interesting. And so it allows us an opportunity to see another point of view, and it actually changes our way of thinking over time. It allows us to interact with those people in the future. Right? And so, students all band together. We have Muslim Students Association, Young Life, we have ROTC, we have the football players, we have all these different things of importance to us. We have to find a way to get along with each other to keep our environment friendly. And that really what makes Kempner such a great school, because of our diverse environment and our way of thinking that changes over time. While our diverse community in Kempner is actually a great thing to have, there are some things we have to deal with up front. And one of those things is making assumptions about communities that we don't know much about. Imagine your first time seeing a white student, your first time seeing a black student, a Muslim student, a student from the same race but of a different culture, right? So there's African students that follow Islam, African students that follow Christianity, right? So different cultures within the same race and ethnicity. So we're dealing with a lot of differences, and we have to wonder, what assumptions do we make when we first see these people? With this being our first interaction, usually our assumptions are based off of things we've heard, maybe things we've seen from our family, from news, from friends, from coworkers, from peers, right? And so we have to make sure that we aren't letting those assumptions get in the way of us actually getting to know these individuals, because not everyone that comes from the same ethnicity will have the same culture. Not everyone that has the same culture will have the same race. And so we have to actually make sure that we're getting to know these people. We can't pigeonhole everyone and put them all in the same box, because that way we're not actually getting to know who they are. And a big thing about diverse communities is getting to know who the people are and actually dealing with them. For instance, me as a teacher, I can't have any positive impact on a student without getting to know who they are. Even a black student that I may think came from the same culture, I have to make sure I know who they are. Their culture may be different. The way they ran things in their household may be different. And I have to take my time out to actually get to know that student personally in order to develop a relationship and in order to make an impact on their lives and get my material across to them. Right? And so the same thing goes with us between our peers. We have to get to know our friends before we make assumptions about who they are based off of a large stigma that is applied to that group, that general group. Assumptions aside, there still seems to be a discrepancy between certain groups of students. Now, there's a question that is asked that is very pertinent to what we're talking about. And the question goes, why is there a dichotomy where some students achieve and others do not? And I have a very simple answer to that question. My answer is that certain families don't focus on education in the traditional sense, I'll say, in the traditional sense. And so what that means is that a lot of these students don't have the proper support to do well in the education system. So what does that mean for educators and administrators and districts? What that means is that the teachers and the educators must focus and put emphasis on the student. They must give students extra attention in the classroom, and that is the definition of equity. Now, the students that come from households that focus on education, then they already have the one up. Now, the students that come from households that may not focus on education, and they can be from all races, all ethnicities, from anyone, but those students need more attention in the classroom, and that is what equity is. A teacher making sure that the student that needs the help gets the help, and the students that have the assistance stay persistent. And that is equity within the classroom. So what does all this mean? Oh, I thought you were going to give an answer. Okay, so what all this means to me is basically that I have to put in a lot of extra work for the students that need the help, right? As I said before, my job is to create equity within the classroom. Equity within the classroom means that each student is successful. Every school district talks about it, the success of every student, success of every student. But it's how we reach the success of every student. Some students, to be honest, because of their backgrounds, because of their drive, they're destined for success. Like without the external help of teachers, to be honest. Now, those students that are not, all right, the students that are headed down a road that leads to a mediocre education, right? I wouldn't say mediocre life because a lot of people are successful in other ways, but mediocre education, which we must make sure that we step out on the limb, get to know them, so that we can actually introduce ways for them to be successful as well, because they don't have the help from anywhere else. My job as a teacher is to help every student, regardless of culture, ethnicity, race, whatever, socioeconomic status, it doesn't matter. I'm going to step in and try to help them, motivate them, stay after school when they need me to stay, come early before school when they need me to come. I give extra tutorials, give extra worksheets, try to find out whatever I can do in order to help them. And that's my job as a teacher. And so learning about equity in the classroom just motivated me to make sure that each student is actually getting a quality education. As always, that was a mouthful, but I feel it was well worth it. So I just have one question to ask you. What does equity mean to you? I'm Mr. Word, and that is your selfie lecture for the week.